describe a study that we have performed to improve our understanding of glaucoma in patients with retinitis pigmentosa. Now, there is a well-established association between retinitis pigmentosa and glaucoma. Western literature has shown between 2 to 12% of RP patients have primary open-angle glaucoma. However, the literature on angle closure disease in RP is limited to case reports and case series. So the first part of our study was to determine the prevalence of primary angle closure disease in patients with RP. This was a retrospective review of all RP patients over the age of 10 years attending our ocular genetics clinic. Patients in this clinic undergo a thorough history, a pedigree charting, and a detailed clinical examination. All patients found to have a shallow anterior chamber, high intraocular pressure, or cupping undergo examination by a glaucoma specialist, where a gonioscopy and detailed optic disc exam are performed. Visual fields and ERG are done where required, and every patient undergoes a macular SDOCT. In our clinic, we saw 618 RP patients during the study period. Of these, 1.3% had primary open-angle glaucoma and 2.3% had primary angle closure glaucoma. Hence, the first thing to note is that angle closure disease is more prevalent in the RP population. Secondly, 3.6% of patients had either primary angle closure or were primary angle closure suspects. This means that the population had either synechiae or occludable angles on gonioscopy. So if we then look at the prevalence of the primary angle closure disease spectrum, that is the entire spectrum including PACG, PAC, and PACS, the prevalence in the RP population is 5.9%. And this is clinically important because we do perform dilated fundus examinations in these patients frequently, and it means that almost 6% of these patients would benefit from a YAG peripheral iridotomy. Now, how does this data compare with the population data? So if we look at Indian population-based studies, the prevalence of primary angle closure glaucoma in people over 40 years is 0.8%. We then looked at our RP population, identified those over 40 years, and calculated the PACG prevalence to be 3.8%, which is much higher than that in the general population. Hence, there does seem to be an association between RP and primary angle closure glaucoma. Moving on to the second part of our study, now the identification of glaucomatous damage in RP is challenging, and this is because both diseases cause RNFL thinning on OCT and visual field loss on perimetry. Hence, we need a different biomarker for glaucomatous damage in RP. We know that RP is a disease of photoreceptor degeneration, and in contrast, glaucoma is characterized by retinal ganglion cell apoptosis. Therefore, our hypothesis was in eyes with RP and glaucoma, the inner macula on OCT imaging will be thinner when compared to eyes with RP alone. To explore this hypothesis, we conducted a study to compare the thickness of different retinal layers on macular OCT in eyes with RP and glaucoma with those of only RP. So this was a case control study. Our participants were the cases who had RP and glaucoma and were compared to controls who had only RP, and the two groups were matched for vision and central foveal thickness. We excluded all patients with any maculopathy or poor quality OCT images. All patients underwent a SDOCT macula on the Heidelberg system. In addition to the total retinal thickness and the individual retinal layers, we also calculated the ganglion cell complex, which is nothing but the ganglion cell layer, the RNFL, which includes the axons of the retinal ganglion cells, and the inner plexiform layer, which includes the dendrites of the retinal ganglion cells. Statistical analysis was performed by mixed effect models, and the two groups were compared after adjustment for the use of 2 eyes per patient. Coming to our results, we had 21 eyes with RP and glaucoma, which were compared to 26 control eyes. They were demographically similar. The cases with RP and glaucoma had a higher intraocular pressure and a higher cup disc ratio compared to the controls. Moving on to the macular OCT measurements. So the values in black shown here are those of the controls, and the values in red belong to patients with RP and glaucoma. When we looked at the total retinal thickness, there was no difference between the two groups in any of the ETDRS regions. However, when we looked at the ganglion cell thickness, in the inferior nasal perifoveal sectors, the cases, that is the patients with RP and glaucoma, had a significantly thinner GCC compared to the controls. When we looked at the outer retinal thickness, again, there was no difference between the two groups. Therefore, to conclude, almost 6% of RP patients have primary angle closure disease, and hence a gonioscopy is warranted in all patients with RP. Secondly, eyes with RP and glaucoma have a thinner GCC layer in some of the perifoveal sectors on macula OCT. And this could be a potential biomarker for glaucomatous damage in RP. And lastly, future work should involve longitudinal studies of patients with RP and glaucoma to monitor the progressive changes on macular OCT. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zia. We are ready to take any questions.
Zia, sorry, may I ask a question?
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Zia, these layers that you delineated, was it automatically done by the proprietary software of Heidelberg which you used, or was it done by some other software which you included?
So the Heidelberg software gave us each of these individual layers, which is automated. When we calculated for each individual layer, because the layer is so much thinner and the layers are related, the individual layers had a significance, but not as strong as when we looked at the entire complex. And the disease is not really different in the different layers. When you have ganglion cell loss, you will have secondary loss of the axons as well. So the statistical significance...
I'm leading to something else. This is something, the lines are drawn by the computer, which is subject to error. Yes. So is there any way in which you could override and correct over that?
Yeah, so for every image, we did look at the segmentation that the automated software had performed. If there were any problems with the image quality, we did see that the segmentation was affected and we deleted those images. And then we actually arithmetically calculated the combination of the top 3 layers to determine the ganglion cell complex. That is how we did it for our particular study.
Okay. And again, the thickness and estimation or guesstimation was done by the computer algorithm, right?
That is correct.
There was no way you could intervene in that, right? If you found it genius.
So we did not change any of their sort of estimations. But if we found that there was a problem based on looking at the B scan image, we removed those patients if there was a problem with the segmentation.
Because your central foveal thickness itself was relatively high compared, it was in the normal range, what you showed. So this may not really represent what is.
So I will explain. So in our population, if you look at the vision, it was around 612 to 624. That means that these patients didn't actually have a lot of cone loss. And because the central fovea is predominantly cone related, these were patients who predominantly had photoreceptor loss in the rods, but it hadn't spread to the cones. This central foveal thickness also is deficient of ganglion cells. So you don't get glaucomatous damage as well in this area. And that is the reason we chose this zone as a sort of parameter to match the 2 groups.
And did you correlate this with visual also?
So we intentionally didn't do that because say we had 2 groups, which the 2 groups were matched for visual fields. It is possible that the group with only RP had actually more advanced RP, and the group with only cases had less advanced RP, and some of the visual fields was attributed to the glaucomatous damage. So we didn't use that particular parameter to compare it to visual, to match for visual fields. But when we did look at the final analysis, the 2 groups had similar mean deviation and similar visual field index across the 2 groups, but they were not intentionally matched for in the study.
Very nice study. Thank you, Dr. Zia. Dr. Manoj, you have any questions? Please go ahead.
Yeah, and Dr. Zia, as even my comment on the first round itself for this same paper, if you remember right, I told you this is more sensitive only to the Heidelberg platform. Though the data analysis is good, but it's all automated computer generated analysis. We will like you to, because the reputation is very poor in this patient because of the fixation losses. So you need to work on that and get us some more data.
Yes, yes. That is part of our longitudinal assessment. We intend to even look at manual measurements of, say, the ellipsoid, length of the ellipsoid zone, etc., to monitor these patients in future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
It would also be a good idea if you match these RP with glaucoma, with RP without glaucoma, and also with glaucoma without RP, so then you really have
a good complete spectrum.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Zia. We wish you all the very best for your future.